What is a thirsty? What is having a thirst mentality? I'm going to talk about that on this segment of the Gig Geezer. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, thanks for coming by, and if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. This segment of the Gig Geezer is about, are you thirsty? Why would I come up with something like that? Well, I'm not passing the buck off on somebody, but a subscriber and someone who commented on a recent Gig Geezer's upload posed the question asking, what is the thirst mentality? Could I explain that? And I think I can explain it, since I'm the one who often talks about thirsties, making thirst moves and so forth and so on. Now, I'm gonna say this much. We all have to learn how to make gig apps work. We all have to learn how to make low boards work for the purpose of the brokered opportunities. So that means none of us are really gonna start off just quote killing it. We're gonna make decisions that when we look back, we should be saying that they were thirsty-like decisions. They were thirst decisions. I've got my history of those. In fact, I can share some of my early thirsty type decisions, thirsty type moves, working gig food delivery apps, and situations that I've since not duplicated. My very first gig food delivery order was on the former Postmates app, and all I saw was that it told me to go to Red Robin's in the mall area, and come to find out, I waited almost an hour for that order to be brought out. Not to mention, when I finally got the order, it was a hotel delivery, and it paid all of like $4.48. Talking about somebody that felt like a stupid fool, and looking back would have called my own self a thirsty. I should have done that day, but I didn't know any better. It's my very first gig food delivery work. Another one occurred a few weeks later. This is with DoorDash, and back then DoorDash had this thing with its peak pays, whereby you had to work a specific area, and that you had to accept and complete 80% of your orders to qualify for that peak pay within a certain period of time, like a 2-hour or 3-hour window. And so I happened to get an opportunity that was, I was in Lexington County when I accepted it, but the pickup was over in Richland County. In fact, I shared this one on an early segment of the Gig Geezer. It was over on the east part of Columbia, South Carolina, in Richland County. So I drove like, this was about as bad as doing a rideshare one, and then ultimately it pays like $3.50, and that's exactly what it paid. I drove basically 20 miles to pick up a Chick-fil-A order. It went about 5 miles, and it paid all of $3.20. And I'm saying, you got to be kidding me. That's all this order. I contacted DoorDash and asked them, that's all this order paid was $3.50. And I did this all in the name of getting a $1. In fact, I didn't even get the $1 peak pay because of this, because it was not completed within the 3-hour window. Talking about a thirsty move, thirsty decision on my part, and being a fool. I was all of that. I was a geezer fool. And from that point forward, I swore that I would never make decisions like that again on a gig app. Similar decisions that I had to learn on when I was doing rideshare with Uber and Lyft. Same thing. I remember one time picking up a hotel ride. It was on a busy day, Saturday, and I'm thinking that, oh man, these people are going to the football game because it was on the game day. These people went all of about 3 minutes to another hotel for $2.25. Sucker, fool, thirsty. You can call me all that. Okay, so again, you live and you learn. But what is a thirsty? What is a thirsty? Well, I asked my queen what would be her definition of a thirsty. I've got my definition, but I think hers is more in line with the common definitions. She says it's a person who goes after anything, no matter how low of value or poor quality it is. Sounds like a good that sounds like a thirsty. Someone will take in the case of doing delivery and transport, someone will take anything and everything, regardless of how bad it is. And those 3 examples that I gave you were thirsty examples. Now, the thing is that when you make decisions like that early on, there's a learning curve. But when you continue to make decisions like that, that's when you're a thirsty. That means that you're not trying to improve upon your situation. You're just doing what you're doing. And if you go around complaining about you're not making any money, you're complaining about cost of gas, cost of maintenance and all, you're complaining about people not tipping or what have you, or you're just complaining of the lack of opportunities thereof, that's on you. Now, I first heard the term thirsty in 2017. And the first time it was used was not in the context of delivery and transport. It was actually in terms of relationships. A couple of ladies whom I met that year, first person told me, "Well, I'm not thirsty. I'm not thirsty. I'm not out there trying to hook up with anyone and everyone. I don't have to. I'm good with my situation." And that's pretty much what the other woman said. Same thing. Hey, I'm not thirsty. I'm not thirsty. I don't have to be thirsty. I can just stay home and mind my own business, drink my water, and mind my own business. Pretty much what she said. And when I think back when it comes to relationships, a lot of us have made some thirsty decisions with the people that we've chosen to involve ourselves with. Some cases, ultimately, whom we've married. But I'm not trying to step on anyone's shoes on that particular subject. I'm just talking about whom you've involved yourself with. You've made some decisions that you've turned around and have gone through what I call you have regret, remorse, and then you have utter repulsion for the decision that you make. Then again, some people live with their decisions and they're cool with it, but they will say that they may or may not admit that it was thirsty. But that said, moving ahead, that 2017 was when I first heard the term thirsty. It was 2018, not somewhere around 2018, that I began using it in my daily lexicon, calling other rideshare drivers thirsty. And I would try to give some characteristics of those thirsty people, although these may not be accurate. But what I noticed was that a thirsty driver would take the $2 and $3 rides, regardless of where they were. They could be 10 miles, $3. They'll take it. They seem to be cool with it. I wasn't cool with it. And I didn't take those rides. After you learn a few hard lessons, you don't take those type of rides. Another, 2018, yeah, the characteristics of a thirsty was the one who takes those bad rides. But I noticed that, especially the ones who'd hang out at the airport, they had this look of desperation about them. They had this anxiety in their face. They had this, I got to make some money. It's like, it's written on their forehead, I need money, I need money. And then they show up And again, you can't knock their grind, you can't knock their hustle, but you can sure make some comments that they may not appreciate about, for example, the vehicles that they ride. They show up with a Chevy Cavalier with the trunk being held tight, with the trunk being held shut with a bungee cord. Or you're driving a Nissan Rogue with your quarter panel missing or hanging and flapping. And those are things that you're not supposed to be doing when you're doing rideshare. You're not supposed to be driving vehicles that are pretty much one step away from the junkyard. Or they're driving around with the front end held together with bungee cords or a roll of electrical tape. But yet, I need money, and they'll grab anything and everything, and they're waiting 2 and 3 hours for that ride too at the airport. Now, I understand that someone will turn around and say, well, weren't you at the airport too? Weren't you waiting for rides at the airport? Yes and no. Whenever I saw that there were like in Colombia, knowing how limited the flights are in Colombia, knowing that there are 30 flights that may come in each day and 30 flights that go out, at least back then, I'm not going to wait in a situation where there are 20 and 30 vehicles already there trying to get a ride opportunity. I'm not going to do that. Or in Charleston, even though there are like 180 flights coming in and out, respectively, each day, and I know that during certain times of the year, the flow of opportunities are faster than other places. But when the queue is showing like 150 vehicles, I'm not hanging out there. That's a thirsty type decision. Because when it's all said and done too, you're hoping. The thing is that when you do airport opportunities, you can't be disappointed. It does happen where you get one that goes around the corner or 5 minutes from the airport, and you waited all that time, and now you feel like a fool. That's the thing. Some people just don't admit when they've made a bad decision, but yet they will turn around and say they will get on you for getting on their case. So when did I really get into full gear using the term thirsty? It was when I was doing Amazon Flex. And with Amazon Flex, an outright thirsty move is when you take a 3-hour block that's for $54. That's the bare minimum. That is the absolute bare minimum. Or any block that translates into averaging $18 an hour. So if it's a 2-hour block and it's for $36, that's a thirst move. And I would call other drivers thirsties in their face, or if they were in a chat group that some of us were in, I'd call them thirsties in the chat group. Because the thing is that if you wait long enough, they're gonna go up. They're gonna go up. The rates are gonna go up. It's just a matter of waiting. Some people just don't wait. So there's a couple of characteristics about thirsties. You can attribute to them FOMO, fear of missing out. A lot of times these people make decisions basically with the fear of missing out. They figure that if I don't get it now, I may not ever get it. But yet there may be another opportunity that come up right around the corner, and it's for way better. But you took that one for less. And now you're mad. You're mad at everyone for calling you a thirsty. But yet, if you waited a little longer, you could have got something better. Now, I know that there are some content creators who say that there are opportunities out there. There are opportunities out there. There's plenty of opportunities out there. And they have gone as far as to say that they're not a part of the problem, but that they're trying to help people out with helping them build their grind, their hustle. Well, my answer is this. You are a part of the problem, as I shared in this segment of the Gig Geezer, when you take thirsty-like decisions. When you take those DoorDash orders 10 miles for $3, 15 miles for $5, and they exist out there. Or you take those Instacart orders, a triple stack for $12, or I've seen even worse, for $7, and you've got 60 items. You're thirsty. What else? On the brokered opportunities, you see an opportunity from one place to another. Let's say 400 miles, and they only offering $280, and you grab for it. You're a thirsty. 70 cents a mile, you're a thirsty. And I know that there are people out here in the YouTube sphere who are saying, well, the average is 85 cents a mile right now, but I got to keep my people moving, so we took the 70 cents a mile with the hopes of getting something else. Well, when you consider your cost of business, is that a smart move? Does it help? Does it help you? Does it help lead towards the stability, the stability and long-term longevity of your business? It probably doesn't. So you're basically gonna pay them to move their stuff. You're gonna pay them to deliver their stuff. That's basically what you do when you make thirsty type moves. Now, I know that this will not be a popular segment. I may get more thumbs down than I have ever seen, and I'm okay with that. That means that you saw it. I may lose some subscribers because of it, because I am insulting people. I'm okay with that, because I am not apologizing for it. What I'm doing is answering someone's question, but I'm also trying to help you too. If you aspire to improve upon your business, I understand that they say sometimes you got to take an L to win. Sometimes you have to be a good loser to be a good winner. That does happen sometimes. But to constantly do it, to do it day in and day out, week in and week out, month in and month out, that's a personal problem. That is a personal problem, and that is not good business. That is bad business. So, the other justification that the other justification that some people use when they've made thirsty decisions, that something is better than nothing. Well, that just sounds like in a bad relationship. A woman who's desperate for a man, he's got two arms. Hey, he may not have both of his arms. He may not have both his legs. Two arms. As long as he's producing some testosterone, she's okay with it. And then she wondered why everybody looking at her the way they do. Well, she wondered why people talking about her behind her back. Well, if you're taking somebody who's a poor character, but yet he's producing testosterone, that's a thirsty decision. I think some people can agree with that. Or a guy takes a woman who looks like Quasimodo. Look, ugly begets ugly. Thirst begets thirst. Winners beget winners. There is a truism behind this stuff. But I've said this a few times in Gig Geezer segments. I showed in this segment of the Gig Geezer what has been earned after 1 year of my owning and operating a sprinter/cargo van. I have shared, actually in this segment of the Gig Geezer, pretty close to what I earned in 2022, which was $80,115, which was the top line of my 1040C form. Year before that, 82,000. Year before that, 76,000. That goes back, that's dating back to 2020. This year, it's going to be over 110,000. You don't make that type of money making thirsty type moves. If you want to talk in terms of dollar per mile, you don't make that type of money averaging or earning 50 cents a mile, 60 cents a mile, 70 cents a mile. You just don't earn that type of money. And if you do, based on that type of decision, you have driven more miles than you care to share with anyone. Another thing that I want to talk about when it comes to thirsty type decisions, some people may want more quantifiable information about being thirsty and all. I have shown examples in the past about like last mile delivery opportunities, like on the Bungie app, where there's a dual opportunity delivering 2,400 pounds, but Bungie's offering like $40 each person. Just today, for example. I mean, that's a bad offer. That's a bad opportunity. And yet there are people who will take it and do it. Just today, I did an opportunity, 1,860 pounds. I earned, when it was all said and done, $300.25. Need not say any more. Altogether today, I was knocking on the door of $500. Where I was at $480 plus today. And then again for the week, even though I bitched and moaned about how the money was coming in throughout the week, the opportunities that came about today helped me to finish at $2,200 plus earned this week. And it's got me much closer to earning actually $10,000 this month, a number that I did not think that was going to be possible. But it looks like it's within reach, although we don't know, because I got some, it's a number that's within reach. I'll just leave it at that. I mentioned about like with, in fact, some others, I know of another person, Everything Apex, Alan Paxton. He spent an entire segment telling people, look, when you accept these opportunities, particularly on load boards, at least $1 a mile, but they, God damn it, man, they gotta make sense. Gotta make business sense. I have shared multiple times throughout the year my expenses. My average dollar per mile on brokered opportunity, just my average dollar per mile in operation is about $1.40 a mile. My average expense pretty much throughout the year has been about anywhere between 65 and 70 cents a mile. And while it's hard to make sometimes it is hard to make really good decisions when you got mere seconds to make these decisions. I mean, I'll give you an example. If you see an opportunity, a brokered opportunity, and again you have mere seconds, it's telling you that it's 380 miles, but yet they're offering $300. At first sight, I know that that's not a good decision. That's not a good move. I'm already thinking with $380 that I'm going to ask for at least $500, but probably more like $550 to $600. Although an ideal number for me, when I speak of my goal of averaging $1 per mile net, would be $1.70 per mile. That means then that I would need to be bidding about $640, $650 based on $1.70 a mile. But you still, I mean, some things just kind of, there's something about just a sight test about certain things. And if I show a complete novice 300 miles for $300, I would venture to say that the novice say that's a bad opportunity, because that is averaging 380. That's averaging just barely $70. It's 70 cents a mile. That's more like 3/4. 3/4, 70. No, that's 80, 90. That's 95 cents a mile. That's 95 per, okay. So 75 cent, 3/4 or 75 cents a mile is $285. So at 300, that's barely somewhere between, at 380 miles for $300 offer, that's somewhere between 75 and 80 cents a mile. Some people will gladly take it. I won't. I've already shared what my number would be if I were to bid on that. More than likely, at a minimum of 500, but more than likely somewhere between 550 and 600. Although the optimal number that I would bid is, that I would need to bid is somewhere about 640 to 650. Hopefully that's an idea of what I mean by when you take opportunities that make sense. They got to make sense. Now, in that example, in that comment that the subscriber left me, He said he see people taking roadie opportunities that are averaging 50 cents a mile, 75 cents a mile. He's looking at something at a minimum of $1.25 a mile. When I'm looking at opportunities on roadie, as with a many last mile gig apps, I'm also looking at something that makes sense for the work that's being done. And I've shared this with a couple of drivers here in the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area. I'm not so much caught up on dollar per mile, because dollar per mile can be rather deceptive there. If you look at that bungee opportunity that was for 2,400 pounds, if memory serves me correct, the miles on it was somewhere between 5 and 8 miles. So on the low end, it was $5 a mile, but on the high end, it was $8 a mile. But you're doing 2,400 pounds of work for $40-something. The example that I did this morning, $300, it went no more than 3 miles. That's 100 miles. That's $100 per mile. It took me all of 30 minutes to do. Well, hell, I actually made, in an example like that, $600 an hour. But again, I don't get caught up on those type numbers, because I believe that those type numbers are what a W-2 would use. But hopefully you see where I'm going with this. Thirsties make decisions that make you end up scratching your scalp, shaking your head, and saying, I don't think I'd be doing that, man. I mean, thirsties down south, you know what you end up saying down south? Bless their heart. And I guess that's the bottom line. But the point of this segment of the Gig Geezer was posing the question, are you thirsty? But also giving a definition of thirsty. And I think I've done that with this segment of the Gig Geezer. I may have more thumbs down than I've ever seen for a segment that I've uploaded. But I'm okay with that. I may even lose subscribers with this segment. I'm okay with that. But you know what? Somebody's got to say it. And I've always been that type of person who will speak up and speak out and put it out there. And with that, if you still happen to like the content that's been provided in this segment of the Gig Geezer or in any other segment of the Gig Geezer, hit that subscribe button. Give my content a thumbs up. Share my content among others. And I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane. As always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.